The Israeli military says it's resumed bombing Tehran, striking targets at the city's heart as explosions could be heard in the capital. One blast reported near Iran's broadcasting complex in the city. An Israeli official says there has been no change in military strategy and that it will continue to go after Iranian officials and missile infrastructure. Israel says it's destroyed half of Iran's stockpiles.
Yeah, first off, we're safe, and indeed we did see some of those strikes, heard those explosions. It's been a dramatic, stunning, jarring, and sometimes surreal day here in the capital, Tehran, as we approach 4 p.m. in the afternoon. Let's tell you exactly where we are. We are in the heart of Tehran. Behind me is northern Tehran. You see the Imam Khomeini Mausoleum Mosque. And what's striking is that it's a beautiful day today. Blue skies, the snow-capped mountains of the Alborz Range, the white clouds. But this beautiful scenery was scarred beginning at 11 a.m. with those explosions and those thick plumes of smoke. Wherever we looked, whether it was northern Tehran, southern Tehran, to my right, western Tehran, to my left, eastern Tehran, there was huge explosions followed by thick plumes of smoke. Many people came out of their apartments, came onto the rooftop, trying to get a look at what's happening. Many people were stunned. It's not clear exactly what was targeted. There's been a couple of statements by Israeli officials saying these airstrikes are targeting, quote, Iran terror targets, but we have not independently verified exactly what these targets are. We can tell you that dispersed throughout the city, in the heart of the city, there are buildings, offices linked to the Revolutionary Guard, linked to the besieged, linked to Iran's army. And it's very likely that at least some of these targets, these were some of the targets. And what we should also point out, in many of these locations, even with the fact that they're military targets, they're right next to very densely populated areas, residential areas. So a lot of people anxious to see how the residents were impacted by these massive explosions. And last we checked, according to the Red Crescent Society, which is a humanitarian aid group here, over the past 24 hours since these attacks started, more than 200 people have been killed.
Now, Reza, in the capital, we saw lines of cars yesterday trying to make it out of the capital to make it to other areas in the country. Has the government issued official evacuation orders, or are these people just taking it upon themselves to head to other areas?
Definitely no evacuation notices, but yesterday in a text message by the government, they suggested that if anyone had a safe place to go, they suggested for them to go there. And I think many people yesterday did that. They headed outside of the city, many of them to the resort towns in the Caspian Sea. There was a lot of traffic, so a lot of people decided to stay, but I know for a fact that some people are going to the Caspian Sea, to locations outside of Tehran. And many people who don't have that opportunity are trying to keep safe here in Tehran.
Now, I want to go back to something that we've been reporting on, which is that Israel says it's destroyed half of Iran's missile stockpiles. And we also know that during the 12-day war back in June, along with nuclear compounds, missile launchers were a target. So if this does prove to be true, how long can Iran keep fighting back before it runs out of missiles?
Well, that's a big if, and that's a big question. And what many observers are describing, a war of attrition. Remember, it's not just Iran that could run out of surprise. Many analysts say that U.S. forces, whether it's in the Arabian Sea or the region, they have a limited supplies as well. So that's why there's a lot of uncertainty in the coming days. What has emerged in the past 36 hours, which is very frightening, is the exchange of missiles between Iran targeting U.S. allies, U.S. forces in the region. And then you have U.S. forces, Israeli forces with their attacks, and many people uncertain how this is going to end, when this is going to end. I think it's Iran's strategy, even before they were attacked yesterday. Their position was, if they're attacked, they're going to exact a heavy price against American allies in the region, against Israel. So that's the question. Will they be able to last, to withstand these initial attacks by Israel and the United States, and make these attacks painful enough for what is the leading world power, the United States, and the regional power, Israel, to back off? That's a huge question and a huge task for the Islamic Republic, obviously.
And Reza, we also saw that Iran today again retaliated, sending more missiles to strike U.S. bases in the region. It hit Amman for the first time. There were also 2 missiles that headed to Cyprus. So are we beginning to see a spillover that has the potential to turn into a wider regional war?
Well, I think we saw that spillover yesterday, within a couple of hours, maybe even less, for the initial strikes of Israel. Iran launched attacks targeting U.S. allies. There's indications that there's many ships that are simply refusing to cross the Strait of Hormuz. That's another warning that Iran delivered in efforts to impact the economy. Again, Iran's position going into these attacks, even before, was that if they were going to be attacked, they were going to exact a heavy price on oil supplies, the global economy, and U.S. allies. And so far, they've done that. How long is that going to continue? How long is this cycle of violence going to continue? That's the frightening question that many people are waiting to see.